Oh, hi, Tayo. I haven't seen you in so long. We have to make sure that we link soon. Please, please, please. Hazel, please let us know that your screen is not black, that it came back up. I'm not sure why it'd be black, but nonetheless. Anyways, you guys, I am going to quickly get started just with these two wonderful people. I'm waiting on Hayet to
Here.
you go. I
Yay.
was gonna say I'm waiting for me to see you in the stream, but I don't have to see you in the stream. No worries. I'm gonna actually. How about you guys just introduce yourselves instead of me doing the
Spiel.
whole spiel? Yeah, because I feel like you guys can say who you are so much better than any words could ever, and people get your expressions and everything else. So yeah, let's start with you, Scott. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Well, I just want to say, Marnique, you do a great job of hosting and setting us up. But yeah, I'm Scott Dre. I work at Meta. I work within a group for the past 7 years called the Creative Shop. Our role is to really work closely with brands to unlock the potential of our platforms. And what we've obviously really focused on a lot within, so I lead travel along with Hayet. I also work on entertainment and restaurants, so random side gigs as well. But travel is like a big focus of both of ours. And one of the things that we've been focused on just as a company, especially in Instagram, is working with you creators to, also not only like try to get you sort of everything you need to understand the platform, how to work within Reels, but also like hopefully create more opportunity for you to be successful, whether it's through education like this, or like even potentially like connecting the brands that we have contacts with you all. So hopefully, like, this is just the beginning. We started this series like at the beginning of the year. We're doing this again. We just want more connection with you all to connect more on education, demystifying Reels a little bit and being real about what's going on the platform. So Martinique's been a great partner for us, and we're just excited to be here again for another one of these sessions. Hopefully, Hayet, I see her. I don't see her face, but maybe she can go
Yeah.
next. Yeah,
Hi
there you
everyone. I'm not sure if you can see me. It's telling me I don't have a camera. So worst case scenario, I'll join in from my phone. But nice to meet you all. Hayet Rida. I am a creative strategist at Meta as well. I'm also working with Scott on travel and restaurants, but also with a focus on creators as well. I think one of the fun parts is I come to the creator table with both sort of that internal understanding of our platform, all the ins and out, but also being a creator myself and being able to sort of toggle between. And I love to bring that expertise not only to creators like yourself, but also to clients. So super excited for today. And I might jump out and jump back in on a different device just to make sure I get to see everyone. I did my hair for this, so everybody got to see my hair.
I'm the opposite. Like, I'm wearing a hat right now, Hayet. So
And I'm like, oh no, sis, come through with this beauty. We're ready to see your hair. We're ready to see your beautiful face. I was watching a webinar you did last week with Instagram, and it was so good. And one of the things that you said that stuck out to me was like, when people were like, how did you get your audience? You were like, my audience will come. I didn't get my audience. I was like, I know that's right. And I was like, yes to being authentic. Yes to having your authentic voice. Yes to continuously being yourself to attract the right people to you, and not just for the masses, because you already understand people follow you for who you are. You are the brand. You are the bag. So I just want to say kudos to you, because I was like, yes, girl, I was screaming through that screen. But Scott, I will let you go ahead and get started. If you want to pull up
yep.
your presentation, we can just go straight into it. You guys, we definitely see your comments on the side. So if there's something that you guys have, Scott and Hayet will stop periodically and ask if there's any questions, and we will definitely feed them to them. I know one question we had already was also somebody asked about timing of reels, and I was like, "Ooh, we didn't get that question on Monday. Like, what's the actual time for a good reel?" So just keep that one in mind, definitely, because I was like, "Who knows?" Like, I was like, questions that need answers. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I love that. We'll circle back on that. I think so you can see Hayet here also with amazing hair. But she'll be on hopefully video later. This is the crew today. We already introduced ourselves. So I'm just gonna like talk. I mean, it's a great segue from what you were just talking about from Hayet. Like when we talk about Reels in general, especially with sort of where Reels is at on our platform, the number one thing we want to make sure everyone's doing is making it you. Like one of the things that Martinique and I talked about before this session was just how much, energy there is around trends, right? And like there's this Reels trend and everyone's doing this one thing. And like, I just need to get on the train and do that one thing. Sure. Yeah. Like play with, like iterate on the things that are happening around you, acknowledge what's happening, but make it you. And I think that's the key. It's like, you showed up, you have followers, you have an audience because you are you and people follow you for your you-ness. And I just don't want, even though the Reels there's a lot of mimicking and those kind of things, I just want to highlight that from the beginning. It's like, be authentic to yourself. And it was a great, even just you responding, Martinique, to Hayet's post about that. I think that's key. And we're going to keep revisiting sort of how to continue to be your authentic self, but do it on Reels, which is a fairly new space. So the structure, and again, it's not a style, it's a vibe. Reels is a vibe, everybody, just so you know. So the structure of today is pretty simple. We're going to do Reels 101. And what do I mean by Reels 101? I think back in the, and Hayet and I have done a bunch of these where we like open the camera and we play and interactive. It's not always easy to do in this format. That was kind of the first half of Reels when we talked to you back in a while back. This is really just going to be like kind of where things are at right now foundationally, like from a growth standpoint, where it fits in the world. And then really just talking about sort of like how to get in the right mindset of Reels and how to demystify some of the memes that have developed. We're going to talk about storytelling. I think it's important, right? It's like, it's kind of hits on what I was talking about before, like not just like taking a trend and doing the trend and then getting caught up in the cycle of like, I got to do what everyone else is doing. It's like, how do you elevate that trend? How do you tell a story? How do you develop a concept and almost stepping away from your phone every once in a while and getting to that creative process? There's like some top tips that we'll go through. Taking a break is really about mental health. And there are tools we have on Instagram right now within Reels and other aspects of Instagram where you can actually remind yourself to take a break, and some stuff on the horizon that I'm going to share with you. And this is actually one of Hayet's superpowers. She on a weekly basis brings us mindfulness training in our team meeting. So like she can talk about ways that she takes a break, reconnects with, the things that inspire you creatively. And then again, feeding your creativity is just really about like other ways to think creatively, leverage, even bringing, certain aspects of growth, and playing with it. And then we're going to have time for Q&A. And one of the things that's worked really well, Martinique, please do. I know you were stopping me the last time because I kept cutting out. That's not going to be a problem today. But I do love this organic flow of like, if questions pop up and you find an opportunity to bring something up, interrupt, pause, because I love that sort of iterative thing. And like Hayet's going to obviously add so much more because she's, in the space. And right now I think I have 300 followers on my tiny food illustration space. So definitely Hayet's the expert. Another expert that I love, if you have a chance and haven't followed Laurice has done a lot of partnership with our Instagram for Business team. And I love the way she just kind of demystifies making Reels, kind of boost your confidence. Like this is meditative for me, even when I'm just goofing around making Reels, because it's like, oh man, you're right. I gotta be authentic to who I am. And giving you steps to do it. So follow Laurice. Here's one just to kick us off that I thought was relevant to sort of, helping you stand out in this sort of saturated market of other creators. Oh, wait, come on. Play.
Your brand can't stand out in an oversaturated market. Here's why you should stick with it. Nobody's eye is quite like yours. Let's be clear. Let your unique personality and experiences shine in your marketing to help you stand out. There are customers who will love your business's special approach. Plus, people love having options. You owe it to yourself to keep going. Shoot your best shot with passion, quality, and consistency. Follow us at Instagram for Business for more tips on how to grow your business.
Yeah. And what I love about this is like, these are awesome tips, but there's like also no one way to do it right either. Like it's about testing. It's about experimenting. It's about trying new things. And most of all, most of all, it's about not putting so much pressure on yourself to like, have the best reel ever. Like, do more experimentation. We were talking last week on Monday. I was saying that like and I'm gonna say TikTok a couple times, just so you know, like TikTok's real. Like we're okay with TikTok, even though we're a competitor. Like, I was listening to a story about like a TikTok creator who just was like randomly has like a beautiful voice, but was randomly singing this song to her cat and recorded it and was like, it's not what she does well. Like normally she's doing more operatic content, really getting into her reel, but she was just recording and singing. There's the little boy, or I don't know what the actual meme is. You might have heard this audio on TikTok, and she had it in drafts and she almost threw it away. And she posted it, and like now I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 million people have reused that audio clip. So again, like I think some things happen in a way when you're experimenting and taking that pressure off that you don't always realize. It's a real, let's just go baseline. Reels is an amazing place to express yourself creatively through immersive, entertaining video. It's Meta's fastest growing content format by far. Like I think we're at 20%. It's probably on the next slide. Yep. 20% of time spent on Instagram is spent on Reels, and that's growing fast. So great opportunity to engage. And it's helping creators grow. I'm actually going to look at my notes here because I want to get this stat right. Yes. Over a 60-day period, here we go. I'm just going to read this, y'all. Over a 60-day period, creators with more than 10, this was just the study. They just did a study for 10,000 followers and above. Over a 60-day period, 10,000 people with 10,000 followers and above gained roughly 2.5x more followers if they posted more than 5 reels over 60 days. So you can see that there's energy that was compared to creators with more than 10,000 followers who didn't post reels. So that's a big deal, right? Like that energy, it's over 2 months. Like actually investing in reels, you can see potential growth. And again, I don't think you should. Your goal should never be like kind of what Martinique was saying about Hayet's post. That like it should never, your goal or objective should never be, I need to grow to a certain level or whatever. You should just keep doing your thing and the audience will come. But that is an interesting stat around growth. It helps unlock not only growth for creators, but creators can stand out and get discovered. Like it's more of a discovery engine than I think, Stories was or whatever, where you're like seeking for followers. With search and explore, obviously because of acknowledge TikTok has unlocked this in a great way. But there's a way for Reels to sort of be that too, where you can kind of find new followers as well. Another really fun one from Laurice before we end on Reels 101.
Introduce your business to new potential customers. And filming yourself can help them get to know you better. So here are 4 ways I get the confidence to film myself. Number 1. I give myself permission to start something new. You can't get good at something until you start it. Am I wrong? I don't think so. I will literally play a whole entire pump up playlist while I'm getting ready to film. I always come ready to film with an idea of what I want my message to be and what I hope to accomplish with this reel. It's a lot easier to be confident when you know what you want to convey. And lastly, start with the basics and go from there. I realized I could make some bomb reels with just a few clips of myself and some audio. Then I started playing with effects and tools to find new ways to make my reels entertaining. Follow us at Instagram for Business for more tips on how to create reels.
So good. She's so good. But she's right. Like you just play with even like a short clip or something, and then you get into like maybe a filter. I love even in her video there, she was using the transition filter. I don't know if or transition effect. It's not an effect. It's actually within your available within your tray right now. When you're editing, you can tap on this. It's sort of like a connector arrow thing that either you add a transition in between your clips and it does that slide or that slide down. There's fun ways to play with that. So those are the things where you can experiment and play. But again, like taking the pressure off is really important when you're doing anything and telling your story. Before I get into your story, I'm gonna stop. This worked well yesterday. Are you guys okay with this? We're gonna stop and just like take any questions. There's Hayet. Yeah.
There is one question, and it's about also posting reels to Facebook. I don't know anything about that because I didn't even know Facebook has the right orientation for that. So if you want to talk about it, I guess.
I mean, it's actually in the deck. I took it out, but there it is. Look, I think if you're just thinking simply about like if you're focused on growth, like why not, right? Like there's literally a button where you can also post your reels to Facebook. So like there's definitely energy. It's a little bit like Facebook is saying share my reels on Facebook. So but it is a different audience. Look, the reality is I don't know about you, but I started Facebook a long time ago. My audience on Facebook is definitely not my audience on Instagram.
Two different audiences. You're totally right. So when you post it, is it the same orientation or does it have the black sides?
Same. There's a Reels format.
Okay. Now. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So Tanya, and she says, is there a benefit of posting to Facebook first?
Okay.
I haven't seen any reels, I don't think, in my Facebook. But maybe it's because I'm not in Facebook like that.
Coming over now where you're going to have a button, you're going to have all the things that you have on Instagram.
Okay.
So I wanted to just add a couple of things, but I want to make sure y'all can hear me correctly. Yes? I'm coming in on my phone. Okay, perfect. So I think Scott has talked about, let's just all take a second, because I saw I think you mentioned there was a question in the beginning that said, what time should we post? And I think we should all just set the ground that there is no social media government. There is no social media university where you will get dinged if you do something at the wrong time. I think you have to base yourself in why. I always ask people, why in the world are you on the platform? What are you here for? If you're here to empower, to connect, that should be the through line of how you make decisions. You make decisions about what types of reels you make. I think the biggest mistake you'll ever make is jumping on a trend just because it's a trend. That is how you get exhausted. Trying to always think through, what time should I post? Should I post at 4? Should I post at 5? This has to be fun. So if at midnight you decide you want to post a reel that's like y'all up, then midnight is the relevant time. If you're posting something about a morning routine, think about when people are planning their morning routines. That's probably a Sunday night. There is no overarching post at this time, do this exact thing. It has to be fun. It has to be inspirational. And the way you're going to get to those things is to also have fun experimenting. I think a lot of times we come on taking it a bit too serious when it is creative expression. I think Scott said that over and over again. There's a reason why we encourage people to creatively express. Half the time, the good stuff, y'all are sitting on because you're overthinking it, because you want to be perfect. You want to join in, and because one person went viral, you can't really repeat virality. Is virality the word, or is it virality?
Yeah. Okay, virality. Cool.
It's whatever you want it to be.
2022. You can't necessarily just because one person went viral, you won't become viral. Being viral should also not be your goal, because there's always somebody who your content is relevant for. This one time, I was trying to figure out how to put on a bracelet with a paper clip. And I was so glad that somebody had content there about putting on a bracelet with a paper clip. Also, if you want to know, you can zip up a dress with a paper clip. But think about if some of y'all had that content, you would have sat on it and said, well, this is going to make sense to nobody. It sure will. That's the thing about the internet. It's sort of everything that's relevant to you could be empowering to somebody else. You can't overthink what's going to be empowering. So I just, if a lot of y'all know me, I get on my high horses and start yelling about people for not believing in themselves or for overthinking this. So I'll throw it back to Scott before I spend 30 minutes yelling.
I mean, I could just listen to this, Hayet, like all day. Amen to what you're saying. It's so true. It is. We do get caught up in thinking about the trends. And I think that's really important. It's like back to the story I was telling, like, you just don't know. You just don't know. And that's the thing. Like, there's going to be no science. Hayet's not going to be like, okay, guess what? The secret is 7.5 second reels. Like, that's just not real. Like, that's not the secret. Like, the secret is what makes sense to what your story you're telling. Any other questions before we move on? I'm going to go into the next part, which is really just kind of like some things to remember around just starting with a good concept. And it's really meant to be more sparks. Take some notes, write some things down. Like this could be, and we talked about, you're going to be excited because I have an acronym. Am I still here? You guys got me?
Yep, we got you. But the stream is not on, so you just got to share it again.
Here we are. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Great. So, what does that mean? Start with a good concept. Like, the creative is subjective, right? So, what is Scott saying? What is a good concept? Well, it's like, what's a good concept to you? What is something that you find relatable that will connect with your audience? Maybe it's just like starting your day and taking a second to sort of observe things that might have happened. Like even your my plane is on fire story, Martinique, earlier. Like, how do you take that and tell an interesting story around something that happened to you? But the way we break this down, because we love acronyms. Like relate, it's reals, y'all. Like this is a quick, easy, and we'll share this as just sort of like a thing to maybe spark ideas. Relate to your audience, and Martin or Hayet said that. Like it's like your audience, you know who you're talking to. You've been doing this for a while. Like trust in that, trust in your authentic voice, and just continue to like be you. Express your perspective. You have an interesting perspective. Believe in it. Don't overthink it. And really connect it. Engage in the conversation. Like there's definitely tools now, more tools that are making it easier to engage in sort of a conversation, connect in a deeper way, and above all, let go of your fears. Let go of your fears. Let go of your fears. We're just all trying to make it in this crazy world of creating content, and then surprise people. Like throw people off every once in a while. Try something new. So again, like just some things to maybe keep in mind when you're thinking about relating to your audience. Thanks, Scott. Create content that clicks with people. Thanks for saying the obvious, but that is sort of obvious. But something that might go, hey, that's literally me. Like I get that. That's like something that I connect with, and it's a shared experience. Simplicity is key, right? Record with your phone, bring in real life. Like I think for travel, what we see is like be your brand, but every once in a while show you the real you too, right? Like don't always have to be like, and that's what's great about all the spaces. If you think about stories feels like that place where you can just, hey, here's what's going on right now at this moment. I don't need to be curated. Reels, you can take it to a place of like, hey, I'm actually going to edit something that is so awesome. And I love getting into that experience of editing and creating a story. Or you can use a template and dump all your photos from a trip and put a sweet track on it. And it's like, wow, look at what I just created in like 2 seconds. So I think like keeping it simple, keeping your process simple, and like playing with those different spaces to do that, to make it simpler for you. And then showcase situations that people can see themselves in, which is always, a good thing. It's like, it's relatable to them. Expressing your perspective, helping people discover something new, or offering a new view, right? Like what's your perspective? How do you take, and that's where like, I get back to the trends. Like Hayet said it wonderfully, like just don't jump on every trend just because it's trending or everyone's doing it. The corn trend, it's corn is great. I love it. That song is still like in my head. But that format is a really easy format for people to jump on, because you can express yourself and tell yourself what is my corn, and I can be myself. But like there's other ones where you're just kind of mimicking the thing. Like share something that's uniquely you, or elevate the trend. Like everyone's doing it this way. Like one of my favorite ones was and this was, I don't know if you're all fans of Stranger Things, but everyone was doing the jump and their clothes changed. And one kid from Stranger Things like just did it really horribly. Like he jumped and the timing was way off, and he changed it. Like that's just something so subtle, but like for his brand and for the way he tells stories, it was perfect, right? So those are the kinds of things that you can play with. It's simple, it's subtle, but like express it in your own way. And then like Hayet said, like don't focus on everyone, allowing people to view the world in a new way, potentially through your perspective. Engaging in conversation, put a twist, on conversations of the moment that are happening, what's happening right now. And people do want to hear your take on it. Like, I think it's hard to maybe, if you're just about like traveling and showcasing where you're going and photos and stuff, to turn the camera on you, right? And talk. But, maybe you do that every once in a while and you get a little more real or authentic, or even back to like, we're going to get to mental health. Martinika and I talked about this on Monday, like being real honest with your community and saying, look, I'm actually going to take a week off. I'll see y'all in a week. Like this is an honest conversation about what I need. And you should all take a week too every once in a while, So like having sort of those engaging conversations. There's cultural moments and trending topics. Use hashtags that are trending or relevant. to your content themes, and then inspiring others to join in, create too with you, right? Like, let's all do something together, or like share your best this or that, or like, has anybody had their plane start on fire, their wings start on fire? Like, share your story in the comments. Like, those are kinds of fun things that you can get more engagement. Let go of your fears. This is so important. If you're having fun, Hayet, it's like you sort of like live and breathe this document. You were just saying this, like, if we're not having fun, then what are we doing here? Why are we here? We should be having fun. And the more you're having fun, the more people will want to engage, because they're like, man, this person is just having a good time and sharing some great stuff. And your audiences will love it. Provide things that are entertaining, have all the emotional factors, showcase your personality. I love create youthful and spirited content. I'm old, so I'm kind of offended by that. And then surprise and delight, keep people engaged, have a strong hook. Like, again, I think sometimes we kind of we get into this habit of like, okay, actually everybody responds to this one format I'm doing. It's me talking straight to camera, or me, inserting lighting or whatever. That's great. Keep doing that. But like every once in a while, throw them off with like a different camera angle. Or like, again, if you don't talk to camera that much, maybe it's just your voice sometimes, or it's like other things that do well on the platform, but that you're playing with, sort of how you show up in being original. This is just, PSA, content to avoid, don't, any visibly recycled stories from other apps, avoid third-party fonts and watermarks. You know what I mean? TikTok, right? That's an us thing. We want it just to be reels only. Doesn't mean that you can't share both, but like, try to keep the TikTok watermarks off. Content avoid anything that includes videos or pictures that you don't own rights to. And that's just a normal thing when you're doing anything for a paid client, like acknowledge, like if you have royalty-free photography or anything that, you're going through those processes. There is for music, there is a Facebook and Instagram music library that is royalty-free that you can use if you want to add some original audio to something you're doing for a paid client. Obviously you can't use like, some sweet track that you just find organically in a paid story. Content avoid, again, interrupted, exaggerated, or misleading, baiting, blurry, due to low resolution, and horizontal, always. But that's just a reminder. Relate to your audience, express your perspective, engage in conversation, let go of your fears, most important, and surprise people, are just some things to think about when you get started and are stuck sometimes. And again, I'm going to stop sharing and see if anybody has some thoughts. And Hayet, please build.
Yeah, I think I saw a question in the chat section about SEO words and hashtags. And I think the way you should approach hashtags is if somebody was going to be looking for something. Because again, if you reframe your content as it's relevant to me, it's helpful to me, it may help someone, especially around travel. So let's say you are reviewing a hotel and the hotel is in Chicago and it is a family-friendly hotel. There's about 10 hashtags already there. Family-friendly travel, family-friendly Chicago, Chicago hotel review, family hotels Chicago. Think through those as if somebody was going to Google something and how your content would show up to help them. Again, not to just get people's attention, but to actually be valuable. Because again, when you think about, I want to attract an audience, no point in attracting an audience if you can't keep them. And how you keep them is to be relevant to them and also to give them content that they're like, you know what, this girl is helpful, or this guy or whomever. I want to keep coming back to X, Y, and Z page. So that's how I would approach hashtags.
Great call out.
And I think she was asking also, like, is hashtags preferred, or is a new SEO way to put just words in your captions and people find you through that? I haven't heard that, so I don't know.
I think so for right now, hashtags are the way, especially through our search functionalities, of how people will find you.
Gotcha. They said, any chance you can share the things to avoid screen for a few more seconds? Sorry, Leslie, what does that mean? To avoid screen?
Just once. Content to avoid. I'll throw that back up.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, all these new Instagram things, I don't know that one.
Yeah, go ahead. Screen grab that. That's a good one to screen grab because it's just good. A lot of these things are like, you just keep in mind that, it's just pro tips.
Ashley says that hashtags can be such a stress. I'm sorry you feel that way. So for me personally, and not that any of y'all asked, but for me personally, I use the same hashtags because my content is specific to a certain thing. So I just have them already built out. And if for some reason I'm changing them, I have them already built out. So I just go into my notes and I copy and paste, and I don't even have to think about it. It's nothing new. It's literally already in my back. And I can tell you ones I've been using for years when I'm posting to either my business page or to my personal is travel stoke, travel awesome, black travel feed, travel noir, traveling while black content creators. Like these are the same ones that you will literally see in each one of my stuff. And it brings in people because remember, we all follow the hashtags of things we want to know, and the brands we want to work with follow hashtags also, and that's how they find you. So just keep those things in mind, but try to write them out and keep them in your notes so you could just copy and paste it. So it's not wahala. Sorry.
What are you sorry for? That was awesome.
Sorry.
Keep chiming in, people. Okay, I'm going to keep going. This next section we're just calling top tips. Top tips is fun because it's just something to think about when we're just going to walk through like a couple things when you're maybe making a real high level that might, again, spark an approach or an idea. This is like not the only way to do it. This is just one way that might inspire you. So I'm going to share again. Reels, top tips. All right. So Reels is fun. There's a lot of things we can do, but like if you're just getting started or you're just like want to try something new, maybe, you start with a couple things. Like one, you always want that maybe hook. Like what's a bold, captivating visual? I think, we talk about this in a lot of different ways, and Hayet and I sort of like we get this question from brands a lot. Like, how do you hook people in the first 3 seconds? And for years we were like, you just need to put your logo up there so they get your brand. And we're like, that's dumb. You want to hook people with something that's intriguing, something that's exciting. So maybe even when you're thinking about editing, what's that thing that like gets people connected? Is it your face because they recognize you? Is it an element? Is it something that where you're at? Is it some cool destination? Is it thinking about that most amazing shot and making sure when you're editing the reel, that's in front and then everything follows? Because we do have tons of data on the ad side and on, the non-paid side where that first, 3 seconds is really important just to get people engaged. So start with something bold and captivating, and then transitions. I love playing with transitions. There's, we saw with Larissa's stuff where just playing with transitions as an effect is a cool way to go from and kind of create some dynamic storytelling. There's actually transition effects in the effects tray where you can turn your head and it does sort of like a spiral transition. But even just playing with these, we have 2 people that we used to work with. The guy on the bottom, Thomas Shim, was at an event, and granted, his background makes this whole transition amazing, but it was just so good, right? It's like all these like awesome spaces that make it look like he's traveling through them. And then he elevated that concept by, he's trying to find a signal. And so he put that sort of like AOL like sound effect on it to really tie the whole thing together. So not only beautiful, he's playing with transitions, but he's also adding sort of a unique sound to it. Even just something as simple as this, right? The one on the top. Again, so simple. Like all they're doing is like, capturing the self falling, then doing a camera move that makes it feel like you've, gone somewhere else. Like it's blurry for a second, the camera's moving, and then your transition is to another place. So like just playing with teleporting different places. There's tons of things I really get into. I don't know if you guys have, I think they started with like doing it with a Swiffer. I think Karen X Chang was like taping her phone to a Swiffer and doing that sort of, I think it started with that Atlanta trailer a long time ago where you just saw like people like rotating around the earth, like falling, and it just kept spinning and spinning. Like I do that with just by sort of turning my camera and then swiping it down. It's like a simple hand motion. So like there's tons of like tutorials online. There's fun things you can do. So transitions are really fun to play with. And then maybe add, after you're sort of captured your sort of captivating visual, a fun transition, you know, what's some short, intriguing text? And then how do you sort of play with that text added to your reels, to your video? Time text is a great way. You can see, you can make a point with time text. If you haven't experimented with this, this is actually like this, honestly, talk about fears, y'all. Like this was my biggest fear. Even presenting time text, I was like, I'm just avoiding it. I think last time, Martinique, we met, I was like, I'm not going to talk about this because I don't feel comfortable with time text. It is so easy now. Like you literally type anything and then you can, it sort of populates the words at the bottom. At any point in the edit, you can just keep typing words and then you can tap on that specific section of text and literally edit it to pop up when you want it to appear. And what's great is it even acknowledges and kind of snaps to like your edit. So if you really want sort of like text per edit, like that's really easy to do. So this has gotten way easier. You know, if you need a tutorial on this, message Hayet or me and we can walk you through it. It's so fun. And then engaging audio, right? We get this. Like I've seen, you know, if I put a trending audio track on something that I even just shoot with my kids, like it gets like a lot more views than certain things. We know there's trending audio, but just playing and engaging with audio, like there's such a huge library. This is expanded too to be like, I think it's, I don't know if it's trend. I think it's trending. There's like a For You thing, just playing with like playing and experimenting with the different kinds of sections that are recommended. And then I always recommend this too. Like if you see an audio and maybe you all are doing this already, but like saving it is so important. Then you can go to saved audio at the top and then you have this. And that's how I find like, you know, the comedy clips or somebody lip singing to a thing that's usually not in this space. Hopefully I think they're actually slowly integrating more of the, you know, audio clips with music into this sort of search and explore library, music library. But I think that's another thing, another pro tip and playing with audio. Add a caption at mentioned collaborators or creators, final touches, like add relevant hashtags. We talked about hashtags. Avoid hashtags like explore page or reels. They will not help you get featured. And on Instagram, you can choose a cover image. And I think that's the other thing a lot of people sort of just kind of go through and skip. There's like a way to pick your cover image in reels. And then save as a draft. Pro tip, if you haven't used that, it's so good. You can save a reel as a draft and pick up where you left off. I think I have like 10 drafts right now. I really need to clean my drafts up. But fun feature. And then we're going to take a break. Before I do that, let's stop again and see if there's any questions.
I did see one. Oh gosh, where did it go? I don't know where it went. Okay, but I'll ask because you just went through text, you just went through audio, you just went through transition. So a lot of people ask also like, do you recommend only doing those things in the app or do you recommend using outside apps and then bringing it into Instagram? And if so, which apps do you recommend? And while he's talking, I would love everybody to put the apps that they use that are outside of Instagram in the comments so everybody can see or we can help each other go through or help each other see which apps will work best for Reels.
Yeah, I can jump in with my record before I gotta jump out. My biggest one is InShot because InShot is super easy to use. You can get the InShot. I use the InShot Pro because a lot of times as I was getting comfortable with transitions, I had to almost like go play in the sandbox and then replicate that in Reels. So now I'll often edit right within Reels. But InShot is a good place to also practice. And sometimes I like the filters there, especially with darker skin. I like the filters and recoloring the video in InShot. So just wanted to add that little caveat.
Well, I think that's amazing. Like I've not used InShot Hayet, but like just even knowing that there's a bit more of post-process for a video in there to color change and stuff is a huge, huge one.
Yeah.
I see some Video Leap, some Beat Leap, some Canva, some InShot, some CapCut, all good ones, all good ones. Yeah, I'm like Hayet. I live by InShot and Canva religiously. For me, I'm really big on typography, and sometimes I just love creating at least that cover photo in Canva, and then, you know, creating something, but always having that typography from Canva in there. So
Yep.
I love that. Like, I think the only elements that you just want to make sure like aren't like, music is so great because people can use the music and build off of that. The things that are elements once it's out there that people are like, oh, where'd you get that track? Or those kind of things are the things that you don't want to like add before, you know, because then even if it's an effect, like sometimes you're using a filter effect and it's like, you know, people use that and then edit with it in another thing and bring it back, and then you lose that feature.
yep. Any other questions before he moves forward? And somebody did ask, sorry, I did see it. It was, do you put hashtags with the caption or in a comment after? I don't know if this is a myth or if this is real. I've
So
heard two different things.
actually, I will tell you, they actually show up both ways. So for me, stylistically, I have a bit of OCD, so I don't like to put a ton of. I'll put the relevant ones in there, like wearing this black dress, hashtag black dress. But then I'll comment first one. They both show up in the search.
That's awesome.
And you can add them anytime. So like,
Yeah.
let's say you forgot to add it, you can always go back and it'll come up.
Yep.
Any other questions before he moves on to the most important part about this? Take a damn break.
Take a break.
Take a break.
Take a break. This is my favorite part.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it because it's so important, right? Like, and we actually, all I'm going to talk about here is how important it is to take a break. I think from a creative standpoint, and you know, Hayet and I we have worked in the creative field our entire lives, and even for projects that we've worked on, I love, like Hayet and worked on a campaign a couple years ago where we were all stuck in, you know, our same routine, and we always talked about how important it was to like work for a few hours, but then take a break, walk away. And then you'd be on a walk, or you'd be somewhere else, or you'd be like sitting on a bench. You'd be like, oh my God, I just had a great idea. Like, you need that part of your process too. And what's cool is when we think about the things we're building in Instagram, we're just foundationally, we are focused on a lot of things around mental health. Like, first and foremost, do you feel safe? Is your time spent on the platform worthwhile? Do you feel supported? And can you make a meaningful connection? And this is something we continue to try to build products around, like this one. And I don't know if you've used this yet. I know it's available now, where you can, similar to how your iPhone works, to like remind you of, like, you know, setting reminders to turn off your phone or take a break, or, you know, I know this is more for kids where parents can limit their time, but like actually having this turn on break reminders to say, you know, we'll remind you every 20 minutes to take a break from Instagram. And you can edit that time like within settings. So like you can say, hey, I want to be reminded, you know, every hour or so. Like if you're still stuck in these cycles where you're really into your phone, like just even a gentle reminder is sometimes enough to shake you out of, like, you know, sort of that cycle that you get into. And then you're empowered to decide how you spend your time. And then again, like ability to sort of take a break. There's also, similar to when you look at your iPhone and like time spent in app, there's sort of your daily, there's your activity that you can find. It's your daily average time spent on Instagram, average time spent per day. Again, you can see the set daily reminder to send yourself a reminder once you've reached the time, and notifications to choose, you know, which notifications you see and which you don't. And that's available now. You can scan the QR code if you have your phone. The other thing is hiding likes. Like, this is controversial for people because in some ways, I make this analogy because I used to do like Second City, and I'd go on stage, and if like no one clapped, I would just run away and cry. And likes are that to us, right? We're seeing likes, views, we're seeing the feedback that we're getting because we have no other way to sort of, you know, get that dopamine hit of like, oh, you like me, you really like me, and likes and comments and all that. And your counts, your views are that. So I think this is something that you can turn on and turn off. So what we were talking about Monday was like, maybe just experiment with this. What's it like to go a week without seeing likes and numbers of likes and engagement? What's it like to just let your thing sit? And like, how does that change your creative flow and how you work and the kind of stuff you make, you know? So again, this is a really simple, easy thing to turn on, off and on. But you're in control of it. And then this stuff is coming, and maybe Hayat, I feel like you get in on some of these things early. I love this one because I think right now when I look at the app up above, if you're in search and explore, next to the search field is just a map button on my thing. But I think what's coming is this ability to customize, you know, what you see and explore by hiding posts that you're maybe not interested in. So you'll be able to tap and have these kind of two buttons where you can say not interested, and then you can tap in and around sort of the grid and be like, I don't like that. I'm not, this is not my vibe, whatever. And then you can kind of cure more, you're sort of guiding, you know, the algorithm a little bit more by your feedback to get to sort of the things you want to see. And then conversely, the thing we don't want to over-index on is getting into a rabbit hole where we're only seeing the same thing all the time. Especially, this is really important for sort of, I have teenage kids, like, you know, I don't want them to sort of be, you know, I want them to like have a diversity of like content they're seeing and thought and be introduced to new things. So this is something that's coming too, is this way to sort of, this sort of topic of nudges, like choose what you want to explore next. And it's sort of introducing maybe new types of content, to types of things into your feed, giving you a nudge outside of sort of, if they sort of, the algorithm sees you going down this rabbit hole. So these are things that aren't live yet, but are coming. And then we'll pause there, and maybe we can talk a little bit about mental health. If Hayet's still on, I know she has a great perspective on all this, but maybe she had to go. I don't know.
I think she did have to go, but this is one of my favorite parts, specifically because I have seen, just being in the influencer space and then being an influencer manager, how sometimes when people's reels don't perform, people lose their minds. And I'm like, that is not a measure of how dope of a creator you are. That is not a measure of whether or not your reel was good. It literally could be anything. It could be the algorithm. It could just be tons of people weren't online that day because it was the National Football League Super Bowl. But it's the simple fact that it's making people feel like they're going crazy, and they are going crazy. And like I was saying yesterday, there's a whole series out about Instagram and depression, and how it's making some people really have to look at themselves and either use those tools you just gave us and say, I'm not going to be on here for this long. It's making people realize you cannot compare yourself to anybody else, right? Because your platform is different from theirs. But like, it has really played on all of our mentals. I won't say it doesn't play on my mental. I was saying, you know, I had a reel and it did like 1,000 views in 24 hours. And I'm like, how? I have over 15,000 followers. All of my reels get at least, you know, 6,000, 7K and 1,000. I'm like, what? And I'm like, in my head, I instantly say, well, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, nothing. It was a good piece of content. Like, you cannot measure it over this. So I'm curious to know what some of the challenges people have had to know. You guys can drop it in the comments, like how it has made you feel. And this was really the basis of us creating this Let's Be Real, because I was like, Scott, listen, people are starting to lose it over Instagram. And not that it's not an important part of our lives, because it is. Nobody could have told us 10 years ago an app would literally be, you know, one of the things that we go to first, right? We're waking up in the morning, and before people say their prayers, brush their teeth, they scroll to Instagram. How do I know? Because I've done it. And I had to tell myself, if you don't calm the hell down right now, like, Instagram ain't going nowhere. Go brush your teeth. Go give God the glory. But like, that's literally how we are now. So yeah, I mean, it is a big part of our mental health. So I'm curious to know what anybody feels, or how anybody has felt. And Scott, how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, you get questions or comments, and I think you're dead on. Like, I think, look, there is this vicious cycle. Like, you get to a point, Martinique, where you are, where you have a great community of followers, and there's this expectation, or maybe perceived expectation, that I need to keep seeing Martinique. What's up with Martinique? And you're like, I'm tired. Okay. Like it's
True.
exhausting. Be a creator is exhausting. The content is creator. It leads to a lot of feelings. Like you're also always seeing like, other people in your world that are creating and you're like, man, I can never be as good as them. Like I like to draw, right? And I love illustration. And I look at the art on Instagram. I'm like, everybody's better than me. Thanks a lot, Instagram. I get it, and you get into this cycle of like not feeling worthy. It's all the things. And then that all piles up on you, plus deadlines that you have to hit. And the brief is like
Mm,
complicated and it's
mm,
outside of your authentic voice, and you're just like, what am I doing?
yeah.
Take a breath, and just realize like, keep believing in what you're doing. You got into this for a reason. Like there
Right.
was something about creating video or storytelling or your personality or something that you still like love doing. Like we just got back on going in person and being on stage, and I was at a meeting at Disney World, and I was like back. I was like, there's an audience. People are clapping. This is great. Like get back
Right.
and dial back into that thing that is like your superpower and that you love. And then just keep that your center. Like you can't let all these other things, and I'm saying it like it's easy. It's not easy. So there are going to be days
Right.
where you have rough days. But like if you can
Right.
keep coming back to why you got in this, maybe even ground yourself in that every day, and maybe, put this down for just a little bit and be inspired by the world.
There you
That's a
go.
start. Any other thoughts or feedback or
Yeah. Oh, oh gosh, I thought I was about to leave the site. So Alexa says, definitely seeing other creators grow tremendously and then not seeing growth for myself was and is really hard to push through. I took a 2 week break, which helped so much. And I think we can all identify with that, especially in the Black travel space. Like the name of the game is reposting, right? And not only reposting, but one way that people have been able to grow tremendously is by the content they share that is reposted on Black travel community sites, right? And so when you think about it that way, Alexa, you can ask yourself, who am I tagging in this? Right? Because that's the people who are going to see it. And the information, is it something that will help other travelers who look like me? It doesn't have to only be Black travelers. I'm only speaking from what I know. But is this going to be something that is needed to other travelers who look like me or people who follow my account for this reason? And so I can tell you now, I tag, if you have 20 people to tag, I tag 20 people. And it could be the most random things too, right? Especially if it's a destination. I'm looking up to see what accounts are most followed in those destinations. So for Miami, I just posted something else about Miami. I added a new Miami bucket list to who I tag because they might get a hold of it and then repost that. So one way that people are growing is because they're tagging those people for repost content. So don't be discouraged. Just try to figure out a different way. But I do get you also. And then the other thing I want to say, and this is, let's be real, people are buying followers, and you can kind of tell sometimes. And as an influencer manager, this is why I say this, because when somebody comes to me with 67,000 followers and they're not getting more than 133 likes, I'm like, something is wrong here. Two things could be this. One thing could be they went viral on one thing, and then that's when everybody followed them, or that they purchased followers. And that's why we say don't compare yourself to anybody else, because Instagram is real and it's not real, right? Like what you
It's
see is
true.
not always what you get.
Yeah.
So
Again, Marnique, in the art space, like I'm not, crushing it at all. I've got 304 followers or something. And I was observing a friend of mine who really grew her following, and she was just honest. She was like, I boosted it with ad credits. Like I got myself out there because I put money behind it. And I was like, oh, so it's not me. It's the fact that you are assisting sort of that awareness of your page. And her stuff is beautiful too. So that helps. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you don't always know how their journey is to get there. You make assumptions, you feel bad about yourself. And the reality is, you just need to keep doing what you're doing.
yeah. Yeah. And then also as creators, you can ask other accounts, can you do takeovers? Like
Yes.
I remember when I was back 5 years ago, I used to be like, hey, I want to do a takeover. I'm going to this place. I think your audience will like it because X, Y, and Z. And that's another way that I was able to grow my following. It was slow, but it was steady. You see what I'm saying? So Sam says, I think just what's frustrating is more that we've been told to make more reels, and suddenly the engagement and views went drastically down in the past few months compared to before. That is definitely true. When reels first came out, everybody could see them. Do you have any advice on this?
I mean, it's tough. Like, the reality is a lot is changing on our platform. Look, there was some dark days. I think we were all there, like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, where even Instagram and Adam came out and was like, we did this wrong. I personally, like, I know this is recorded, but I totally disagree with that move. Like, I think there's so many foundational things that Instagram has that keeps us Instagram. And I'm not against evolving, but I think the reality is we can't. It's like what's happening with trends. It's like everyone's mimicking a trend. So what are we doing? Mimicking what's happening? I think that's a wrong move personally. But I think, look, there's nothing I can tell you from like what's happened or like what's changing. Like, I'm not as close to the platform, the engineering side. So I don't know what's happened and why you're seeing that reduction. I think there's gonna be an evolution. Growth is still there, right? Like, and look, I'm not also telling you don't keep doing your TikTok. Do it all, right? And it's a lot. I know there's a lot of platforms to do things on, but like, look, the stat is real. Like, I mean, that stat I shared at the beginning is like 60 over a 60-day period, 5 reels. Like, that's not aggressive. Like, that's not anything super out of hand. And I think it's just like experimenting. And then back to what we were saying is like, don't curate too much. Like, make it feel a little less, and then again, like, you'll see like, hey, actually this one popped or whatever. Like, I know you're going to see those dips. Again, I can't tell you exactly why, but I think you just got to keep going and play with like different ways. Back to the surprise people part, like surprise people with kind of the stories you're telling, and maybe it pops. It's still you. It's still authentic you. Don't do what everyone else is doing, but like, try to experiment and play with new ideas.
Yep, I love that. And can you answer this question? Does Instagram still favor photos? Because we all take photos and we want to post our photos. We're like, it's not going to do anything because we've been told, and it could be a myth. So let's bust it if it is, that Instagram will only favor reels. So now people's accounts are strictly reels.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't have a data point around that. I know my behavior. I can tell you anecdotally that I kind of do this thing where I like start with feed, because I still love feed, right? Like, I still love to see some stuff in feed. And yeah, obviously like the first 3 or 4 things are like, that's a reel, that's a video, sound on, what is happening? But look, I still think there's a place for stills. Like, we even talked to brands about this, and brands ask the same question. Like, are statics important? It's like, look, if you can communicate what you wanted in a visual, keep doing it. Because I think for especially this vertical, it's important. But I also think, don't forget that like, you can teleport me to a place with a beautiful video and some awesome music. And now I'm even closer than I've ever been. And it has a feeling and it's an emotion. You can also do the same thing with taking your photos and putting in templates on reels and like creating like a sweet, slideshow or whatever. So I don't know, like, I will always take pictures. Martinique, you will always take pictures, and I will share them on social. So look,
I love it.
I think we can't ignore the data around video, but there's still a place for it.
Right. And I know last session we talked about collaborations or adding somebody as a collaborator. Can we just touch on that
I actually am heading into, it's great because like the next section that I'm ending on is growth.
Okay. I thought you were done. I was like, oh, I missed something. Okay, sorry. Totally.
So yeah, so I'm gonna just high level this because we are at time.
Yeah.
You just mentioned it, Martinique. Collabing with the creator is a really great way to like, again, it's a different approach to what Martinique was saying earlier about like, finding that community, having the hashtags, getting discovered, and then having them share your content. Collab is pretty simple. I'll go through how it works. Starting a trend, we have the sticker product, which is kind of how we're like, couching that, starting a trend, sharing IG videos to FB. We talked about that at the beginning. Sharing Instagram videos to FB, like different audience. Try it. It might, it might change your numbers, and then use insights to understand. So this is Collab. If you haven't used it, it's actually super simple to create something in Reels and then share that content to a wider audience through collaboration. The basic structure of how it works is once you get to the posting part, you'll see, how you can add tags right at the end before you do. You also have a button on the right that says invite collaborator. And so for that to sort of happen, you obviously ping this person and be like, I would love to collaborate with you. I'm going to share a reel. Can you, also, accept my collaboration? And so all they're really doing on their end is like, in this case, if photos by Ian, like if photos by Ian accepts your collaboration, then he's posting on his and you're posting on yours. So it's a really easy way to sort of like, again, within your community or groups or whoever you're connected with or whoever, you have friendships with, if they have followers like Martinique, I'm going to send you one at some point. Just kidding. Maybe I will. But like, maybe you could help my 300 illustration numbers go up. It's that kind of thing. It's like, how can we all help each other? The starting your trend thing is add your sticker. You've seen this like organically. And it's now available in Reels. So you can say in Reels, like, and here's Zuck starting his, it's like, everybody have a secret skill, and his is, doing things like this. But you can show off your go-to outfit. How did you spend your time last week? It's really about like playing with like prompts. And what's cool is if you start one, then if a bunch of people do yours, you're credited with the beginning, which is kind of neat. You're like the creator and start of the trend. What made you smile today? And these are meant to be really easy. Like I can just find something in a lot of the ones are like, share the first picture of your dog in your, profile, no cheating and stuff. And then we mentioned this before, share your IG videos to FB for more reach. You can now share Instagram Reels to Facebook for engagement. Another easy unlock, this is a separate thing, but like if you go to Laurice's page, she'll show you also like another way. If you do highlights and if you created highlights within Instagram stories, you can now convert your highlight to a reel. It's like a simple process. So you can try that as another way for Reels creation. And then insights, right? Like use insights to understand your Reels performance. There's this, if you make sure obviously everyone's got sort of like their business Instagram page, like these features are available where you can see minutes viewed, average time. Again, don't obsess about these. This isn't like, oh man, my minutes viewed, but just make, create hypothesis around this. Like, oh, I noticed this one, more people, it was higher minutes views, but average watch time was this, or like people rich was this, but number of plays was this. And then, use that to sort of inform how you create. So again, collabing with creators, play with that, starting a trend with the sticker, share your IG videos to FB, and using insights. The other thing that's really fun, and I talked to Martinique about this last time, but this is now available, is Dual. And it's basically this new feature within your thing. If you've used it, great. It's in the Reels camera. If you tap it, you can record. And this is great for travel creators, of course. Like you want to show the place you're at, but also like talk to camera. So this is a way to do both. It's a double. It's like the screen swap, which camera gets picture and window. You can prioritize one over the other, and you can record both at the same time. And that's it. Oh, I think you're on mute, Monique.
Of course I am. I was saying people just have another question before you go, because I know we need to be mindful of your time, but they're asking really what's the secret to earn money through Reels? Because people are saying they're on their, like fourth or third, like Reels bonus, and they haven't created any or source any income from it generated. I mean,
this is such a good question that I will not be able to answer. Like I wish I could. And I don't know the answer. I feel like monetization, what I'll say about monetization, it's still very new, right, to the space. It's like we're still working it out. I know even like subscriptions just launched too for people who have a certain number of followers, and you can get more from subscribing. I really don't know the answer. We can do that as a follow-up. Like there's actually one of the things we could think about, Martinique, for maybe the end of the year, especially around the holidays, to get them, talk about money, is is come back with maybe somebody who can speak more to like any pro tips on the monetization part.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So you guys, we have to let Scott go, but there will be yet another one tomorrow. If you want to come back and ask questions that you possibly didn't get answered today. But Scott, thank you so much for coming on here yet another day. And like I said yesterday, you know, I just appreciate you guys really doing what you said you're going to do and really caring about this community. It's so easy to do one thing and then never talk to anybody for the rest of the year, but you guys are committed to making sure that these members have all of the up-to-date news that they need, but also like this one was providing a space for people to tell you how they really feel. Because let's be real, Instagram is real.
Yeah, it's so important.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. So just know that me and Hayet are a resource for all of you, and like, you know, connect with us on social, and we're around, and we'll see, you know, Martinique, we'll see you tomorrow, but with you all, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.